Debbie Calloway was only 19 years old when she was abducted on her way home from school. She had become one of the many random victims that would become part of a madwoman's project to create life-sized dolls. The woman, Isabella Paxton, was at one time a very talented doll maker, making the most beautiful handcrafted and hand-painted porcelain dolls in the world. Her talent was unsurpassed, but somewhere along the way, Isabella snapped. She, along with her husband Jason, have kidnapped a total of 34 girls, Debbie being the 34th. For over a year, the families of the victims have gotten so increasingly concerned over their daughters never being found, without so much as a sign of reassurance from their captors and when they would be returned. None of that came out of the captors, but for some reason, the parents continued to have hope that their children would return, and they never abandoned hope. The grotesque experimentation began. Every single girl was dipped into hot rubber and plastic, their scalps removed and replaced with different wigs, their joints smashed, and their movable parts were put into place. Their eyes were removed and replaced with painted glass eyes. Over the course of the next several months, the bodies of the girls began to pile up, and the smell of their flesh began to arouse suspicion to those in the countryside. But Isabella insisted that her toilet began to back up and that a horror movie was playing on TV, which would explain the screams of women. Was the local sheriff really that gullible? Poor Debbie, now 20 years old, was trapped in the basement on a steel carpenter's table. She felt her once soft, silky skin was now plastic and rubbery. The pain in her joints where the movable screws and latches were put into place began getting on her nerves. Her beautiful auburn hair removed from her replaced with a real black wig. She felt like she was horribly reconstructed into a grotesque but beautiful sex doll, and her former self was stripped. Despite her being mummified in rubber and plastic, she could still breathe and see. Jason had made modifications on Debbie. He didn't want to be involved with his wife's sadistic doll craftsmanship and knew that she was going to be arrested anyway. It was later revealed that Isabella snapped because her husband's work was so much better than hers, and she became so insanely jealous that making human dolls would put him to shame. She was the bad one, and he was the good one. Debbie's scalp would tie Isabella to the crime, leading to her arrest, and her husband would be charged with being an accessory to the crime. Debbie's whereabouts remain unknown, and she kills those who try to use her as a sex doll and those who look at her wrong. Children are not afraid of her because she is, well, a life-size doll, and she's associated with children's playthings. She has no reason to kill kids because Debbie herself is still a little child in her heart. Anytime she is reported by those who witness her murders, it is always the same, "A big Barbie doll did it," but their responses would fall on deaf ears. Besides, who would ever convict a human doll? The last words that a victim would hear before falling to Debbie are, "Playtime's over."